Hey, remember how funny you were back then? The bottle of whiskey poured over my head. The cold liquor ran down my neck, mixing with the laughter and the sharp smell of alcohol around me. In that instant, I heard the same mocking laughter from 38 years ago, echoing in my ears. I held it in, I trembled, and I knew I could never let it happen again. That single drop of whiskey falling on my head made me decide to rebuild my life. Let me tell you how that one cruel joke changed everything for me. You're listening to Silver Story Tree, where the voices of life's late chapters gently bloom again. Subscribe, like, and turn on the bell to hear more heartfelt stories that grow with time. I heard the glass doors of the Yongtong Hotel in Suwon sliding open. Inside the banquet hall, Korean pop music played softly, and whiskey bottles gleamed under the chandeliers at every table. I paused at the entrance. It was a reunion after 38 years. I had tied my hair neatly and chosen a decent outfit, but my fingertips felt cold. The hands that boiled fish cakes in my snack shop kitchen felt awkward, touching the hotel door handle. Still, I had to go in. I'd decided not to run away anymore. Someone waved from inside. A few friends rushed over warmly, while others just stared from a distance. Among them was that person, Oh Sangmin, sitting in the middle of a round table, laughing loudly. When I took my seat, Sangmin picked up his glass and walked toward me. The smell of alcohol reached me first. His face had gained weight since our school days, but his eyes remained the same. That mocking expression. Hey, Yoonjong, it's been a long time. He spoke loudly. People around us turned to look at me. I just nodded. I didn't want to answer. Sangmin smiled and said something that made my heart sink. Let's have fun like we used to. The moment I heard those words, I knew exactly which time he meant. I clenched my fist. My hands trembled, not from anger but because I was still afraid of that time. Memories flooded back of the classroom back door, the hallway, and what had been poured on my desk 38 years ago. I took a deep breath. That time, my voice was quiet, changed my life. Sangmin set his empty glass on the table and picked up the whiskey bottle beside him. It was an amber-colored bottle that caught the light. Some people around us were laughing, though a few looked uncomfortable. But no one stopped him. Her Majesty arrives. Sangmin sneered. I heard giggles from the next table. At that moment, I lifted my head. I decided not to close my eyes. Splash. Something cold poured over my head. Whiskey. The smell stung my nose, and the cold liquid soaked into the back of my neck. Wet hair stuck to my cheeks. I could feel the alcohol trickling behind my ears. Stop it, someone shouted from afar, but Sangmin tilted the bottle completely. Just like old times, just joking. He laughed as he said it. Some people around us laughed, others turned away. I just sat there. Through the wet strands of hair, old shame revived. I remembered that winter of 9th grade. Kneeling in the hallway outside the faculty office. My hair had been wet then too. Water that time, but alcohol today. My hands shook. I reached into my bag and pulled out my phone. Slowly, deliberately. Sangmin was still laughing, and someone was looking at me with concern. I turned on the screen and opened the camera. My hands trembled, but I pressed the buttons precisely. Joke. I said it quietly. Ends here today. Sangmin looked confused. Others fell silent. I lifted my head and slowly looked around. I saw a small red light on the ceiling behind the stage. A CCTV indicator light. I thought to myself, this time there's a record. On the night bus home from closing the shop, looking out the window, I had always thought someday I'll have to end this. I didn't know that someday was today. But now I knew. I couldn't just endure and let it pass. I stood up. My wet clothes clung to my body, but my back was straight. Sangmin tried to say something, but I didn't listen. I just walked out. I heard the glass doors closing behind me. Walking down the corridor, my mind became coldly clear. This wasn't a joke. Not 38 years ago, not today. I pressed the elevator button. Going down, I saw myself in the mirror. Wet hair, stained clothes, but my eyes were unwavering. I walked through the hotel lobby and outside. Cold wind brushed my wet hair. It was cold, but my mind became clearer. I took out my phone again. In the photo gallery were pictures I'd just taken. The whiskey bottle, laughing people, and my wet hair. In the taxi home, the driver asked if I was okay. I said I was. It was a lie. I wasn't okay, but I wouldn't endure anymore. The lights of Suwon City flowed past the window. I arrived home and opened the door. It was quiet. My younger brother Duyan hadn't come home yet. I went to the bathroom and showered. Hot water poured over my head. The whiskey smell washed away, but the shame remained. Drying my hair with a towel, I looked in the mirror. There was my 66-year-old face. Wrinkled and tired looking, but not a face that had given up. I looked straight into my own eyes in the mirror. This is just the beginning, I said to myself. The 5 a.m. alarm sounded. I reached out to turn it off and slowly got up. It was still dark outside. Gwanzon Market Alley was always quiet at this hour. Only the occasional sound of early morning delivery trucks. I opened the door to my snack shop. With a click, the fluorescent lights inside turned on. Under the sign reading Yoonjong Kimbap. A small kitchen and 4 tables were all I had. But my life had been here for over 20 years. I lit the gas range and started boiling fish cake broth. The bubbling sound filled the kitchen. Steam rose and condensed on the windows. Stirring the broth with a ladle, I recalled last night's events. The cold whiskey pouring over my head was still vivid. Shame and anger crossed. But strangely, this morning my heart felt somewhat different. I wasn't helpless. The thought of doing something was clear. "Sis," I heard a voice behind me. It was my younger brother Duyan. He came in through the door and looked at my face. "I heard about last night. Are you okay?" I nodded. Said I was fine. Duyan pulled out a chair and sat down. He's always been that kind of guy. "Just forget it. It's not worth your attention." I never forgot. My voice was small. "That's why it hurts so much today." Duyan sighed. He looked out the window, then continued. "Sis, he's the chairman of the redevelopment committee now. If you provoke him, it'll get complicated. There's also the issue of Dad's grave." I stopped wiping the sink. I saw the documents lying there. Notice of grave relocation. The sender was the redevelopment committee, Chairman Oh Sangmin. It said our father's grave needed to be moved. Duyan said when the compensation comes out, we can breathe a little. "We have shop debts, and I know your back hurts. Let's just quietly let it pass." I looked at Duyan. My brother's face was full of exhaustion. I knew construction site work was hard. But this wasn't right. Enduring because of money wasn't right. "Duyan," I called him. "Some things are more important than money." Duyan stood up without answering. "I have to get to the site." "Sis, think about it." Then he left. The sound of the door closing was lonely. Alone in the kitchen, I turned on the radio. Local news was playing. Compensation dispute over Suwon Gwanzon GU redevelopment project. I heard an interview voice. It was Chairman Oh Sangmin's voice. Promising transparent procedures. Transparent. I smiled bitterly. Was what he showed last night transparency? It was a lie. I turned off the radio. I didn't want to hear more. After preparing the shop, I had a little time before customers arrived. I sat at the counter and took out my notebook. An old accounting notebook. I picked up a pen on a blank page at the back. I thought about what to do. I couldn't just let it go. But I didn't know how to start. I slowly began writing. CCTV. Class group chat. Hotel receipt. Statement. Writing them one by one, I could see what needed to be done. I needed evidence. Things that could prove what happened last night. I closed the notebook and took out my phone. I opened the reunion group chat. In the chat room, a few photos from last night had been posted. Toasting scenes, smiling faces. But not the scene of what happened to me. Someone must have taken photos, but hadn't posted them. I was about to write in the chat room but stopped. Not yet. There were things to check first. I needed to call the hotel and check the CCTV footage. Preparation was needed. Customers started coming in. The breakfast kimbap regulars, office workers on their way to work. I smiled and took orders. 1 roll of kimbap please. 1 ramen. It was familiar routine. In the kitchen, spreading seaweed and putting rice on it. My hands moved automatically. Movements repeated for over 20 years. But my head was full of other thoughts. How to start, who to ask for help. After the lunch rush ended, I left the shop briefly around 2 p.m. I had business at the community center. To check documents related to the grave relocation. I hung a sign on the door, "Be right back." Gwanzon Community Center was 2 bus stops from the market. A familiar route. I sat on the bus and looked out the window. The streets of Suwon passed by. A neighborhood I'd lived in for years, but today it looked different. I arrived at the community center and went to the civil affairs office. A staff member asked, "What brings you here?" I took out the grave relocation notice. "I'd like to check this." The staff member looked at the documents and checked the computer. "This is about grave relocation in the redevelopment zone. Have you submitted a consent form? If not, you need to submit it by the deadline. I want to check something before consenting," I said, "whether the procedures are proper." The staff member explained, "You can inquire in detail at the district office redevelopment department. If you have objections, legal consultation is also available." I nodded. Then I asked one more thing. "If there's assault or insult, what should I do?" The staff member looked at me and asked carefully, "Did something happen? If you're going to report it, you need to go to the police station or legal consultation center." I said I was fine. Just curious. But in my heart, I took notes. Police station. Legal consultation. The tasks were becoming more concrete. Leaving the community center, I took the bus again. On the way back, my phone rang. An unknown number. I answered. "Hello? Is this Han Yoonjong?" The voice was cautious. "I'm Yoon Seojong. I'm the daughter of your homeroom teacher." I jumped up in my seat on the bus. Homeroom teacher. The person who tried to protect me in middle school. Who passed away over 10 years ago. His daughter? The teacher's daughter? I asked back. "How did you get my number?" "It was in the reunion directory." Seojong said. "While sorting through my father's belongings, your name came up. If you have time, I'd like to meet you." My heart raced. I couldn't understand why this call came now, but it felt like fate. "Yes, I'd like to meet. When would be good? How about tomorrow morning? At a cafe near Suwon Station." I made the appointment. After hanging up, I looked out the bus window. The sun was setting. I had to return to the snack shop, but my steps felt lighter. Something was beginning. Returning to the shop, I prepared for evening business. Customers came in one by one. One tteokbokki, one sundae. Orders came in, and I skillfully made the food. But one corner of my heart was thinking about tomorrow. At 9 p.m., I closed the shop. I washed dishes and mopped the floor. Organizing the kitchen, I opened my notebook again. I added things from today. Homeroom teacher's daughter. Belongings. Possible records. As I wrote, something like hope arose. The feeling that I wasn't alone. Someone remembered, someone might help. I closed the notebook and turned off the lights. The alley home was quiet. Under the streetlights, my shadow stretched long. For a 66-year-old shadow, it looked dignified. I walked with my head up. At 6 a.m. the next day, I boarded the first bus. Through the window, Suwon City was waking up. People commuting, shops opening. I took out my phone and turned on the recording app. I decided to act like someone prepared. I got off at Suwon Station and headed to the cafe. I arrived 20 minutes early. Waiting for Yoon Seojong, I ordered coffee. Holding the warm cup, my tension eased a little. "Ms. Yoonjong," someone called. Looking up, a woman who appeared to be in her 40s stood there. Her eyes resembled the homeroom teacher. I stood up and greeted her. Seojong took an old box from her bag. My father's belongings. I found something strange while organizing. Your name appeared in it. My name? I asked in surprise. What kind of content? Cassette tapes. Seojong said. Old recording tapes, and listening to them, they seemed like school records. Student counseling notes or incident memos. My heart raced. The homeroom teacher had left such things? Can I listen to those tapes? Of course. Seojong handed over the box. Actually, the reason I contacted you was to give these to you. My father seemed to have kept them in mind. Leaving the cafe, I returned home, carefully carrying the box. Inside were an old cassette player and several tapes. I took out the player and put in batteries. My hands trembled, but before that, I had something to do. I called the hotel. I'm inquiring about the event from a few days ago. Can I check the CCTV footage? The hotel staff answered only the event organizer. Or the parties involved can request it. If you bring identification and a written reason, we can show you. I took notes. ID. Written reason. I thought I should go today. I hung up and called the next number. Park Mira from the community center. Ms. Park, this is Han Yoonjong from yesterday. I'd like to receive legal consultation. Mira answered kindly, there's free legal consultation at 2 p.m. You can ask the lawyer when you come. If there's anything to prepare, evidence materials. Evidence. I wrote in my notebook. Photos, videos, statements, medical records. I made a checklist one by one. As the tasks became clear, willpower replaced fear. After a quick lunch, I went to the hospital to get examined for my head and neck area. The doctor asked, where did you bump? I told the truth. Alcohol was poured over my head. My scalp has been stinging since. The doctor examined me and wrote a medical opinion. Scalp contusion and mild inflammation. I took the document and left. A small piece of paper, but it had weight. At 2 p.m., I sat in the consultation room at the community center. The lawyer listened to my story and nodded. You can file charges for insult and assault. Evidence is important, videos or photos would be good. What about the medical opinion? I asked. That's also evidence. The lawyer said. And if you can get witness statements, that's good too. Submit a statement at the police station. I left the consultation. My head was complicated, but the direction was clear. I had to go to the police station. There was no more reason to delay. Suwon South Police Station wasn't far from the market. I opened the door to the civil affairs office. A police officer asked, what brings you here? To file charges. My voice trembled, but it was clear. Assault and insult case. The officer handed me forms. Fill out this form and submit any evidence materials you have. I sat down and slowly began writing. Date, time, location, perpetrator's name, incident details. As I wrote, I recalled events from 38 years ago. But today was different from then. I was writing, and someone would listen. I wrote the final sentence. I wish to handle this case legally. Leaving after filing, the sunlight was dazzling. The afternoon sun shining through clouds was warm. I stopped for a moment and looked at the sky. My heart pounded, scared but also relieved. Returning home, I sat in front of the cassette player. I put in a tape and pressed play. After static noise, I heard the homeroom teacher's voice. 3rd grade class 2 student counseling records. The teacher's voice was low and calm. Student Han Yoonjong incident. Ringleader Oh someone failed to apologize in faculty office. I held my breath. The teacher had recorded it. That incident. The tape continued. I heard the teacher's sigh. The day before graduation, Yoonjong was trembling. The teacher's voice was heavy. I feel pained that I couldn't protect her properly. Tears came. The teacher knew. I thought nothing had been done, but records had been left. I stopped the tape and cried for a moment. Not from sadness, but gratitude. Pulling myself together, I took out my phone. I posted in the reunion group chat. If anyone has photos or videos from the event a few days ago, please send them to me. I need them personally. A few minutes later, messages started coming. 1 person, 2 people sent photos. Among them was a photo of the moment whiskey was poured on me. The faces of witnesses were clear too. Evening came and I went to the shop. Today preparation was more important than business. But I had to take care of regular customers. Making tteokbokki in the kitchen, I organized in my head. Tomorrow's tasks. Go to the hotel to get CCTV footage. Apply to view school records at the education office. Check the location of the redevelopment committee office. There was much to do, but one step at a time. Late at night, I closed the shop. While washing dishes, I suddenly looked in the mirror. My reflected face was tired, but only my eyes were alive. I said to myself, I'm about halfway there now. On the way home, I stopped at a convenience store to buy batteries for the cassette player. While paying, the clerk asked, people rarely use cassettes these days. I smiled. I'm listening to an old voice. Something precious. Coming home, I lay in bed. The day flashed by. Hospital, police station, legal consultation, cassette recording. Much had happened, but I wasn't exhausted. I actually felt energized. Before sleeping, I opened my notebook. I checked off today's completed tasks. Then I wrote tomorrow's tasks. Crossing them off one by one, I believed I'd see the end. Morning sunlight came through the curtains. Today I was visiting Yoon Seojong's place to listen to more cassette tapes. Seojong said she had a player in her studio apartment. I took the bus to Seodun-dong, a small villa among old residential areas. I climbed the 2nd floor stairs and rang the doorbell. Seojong opened the door. Come in, She smiled. It's small, but please come in. In the room, organized boxes were stacked. Father's belongings, she said. Books, albums, documents. Seo-jong pointed to one of them. There are more tapes here. I opened the box. Several old cassette cases were visible. Writing in marker. 3rd grade Class 2 records. 4th grade Class 1 counseling. Graduation preparation notes. The teacher's handwriting. Ms. Yoonjong. Seo-jong spoke carefully. My father left these throughout his teaching career. He always recorded important things. Just in case. Just in case. I mulled over those words. The teacher had left these for a reason. Thinking someday someone would need them. May I listen? I asked. Seo-jong nodded and handed me the player. I put in the tape labeled 3rd grade Class 2 records. Pressed play. Static. Old recording sound flowed out. Then the teacher's voice. September 15th. Regarding student Han Yoonjong incident. I held my breath and listened. The teacher spoke calmly. Today interviewed the ringleader in faculty office. Requested apology, but student claimed it was just joking. Victim student Yoonjong is refusing to come to school. I heard the teacher's sigh on the tape. The school is trying to cover up the incident. Pressure not to make problems before graduation. But this is clear violence. My hands trembled. The teacher knew everything and left it as record. As evidence. The tape continued. September 21st. Day before graduation. Met Yoonjong in the hallway. The child was trembling. Asked if she was okay, but she only said she was fine. My heart is heavy that I couldn't protect her properly. Tears flowed. Teacher. I remembered when the teacher patted my shoulder. Said it would be okay, that time would make it better. But the teacher's heart was heavy. Seo-jong handed me tissues. I cried listening to this too. I realized how much my father cared about students. I stopped the tape and wiped my tears. This is evidence, I said. Evidence from the past. Seo-jong nodded. Please take them if you need them. I think my father would want that. I carefully placed the tapes in the box. Then I asked Seo-jong what's on the other tapes. Seo-jong took out another tape. This is from graduation day. There are sounds of students saying goodbye. I listened to that tape too. The graduation day classroom scene was captured. Students' laughter, the teacher's encouraging words. And at the end, I heard the teacher murmuring to himself. Yoonjong. The teacher's voice was small. Records will protect you. Someday. I turned off the player. My chest felt warm. The teacher had left all this for me. I found out 38 years later, but I was grateful to know even now. Leaving Seo-jong's place, I headed to the hotel. To get the CCTV footage. I brought my ID and written reason. The hotel security team staff checked the documents and nodded. Footage from the event day, right? Please wait a moment. I waited about 20 minutes. The staff handed me a USB. It's on here. The entire banquet hall view. Returning home, I turned on my laptop. I plugged in the USB and played the video. The reunion banquet hall appeared on screen. People laughing and chatting. Fast forwarding through the video, I found that moment. The scene of Oh Sangmin lifting the whiskey bottle. I returned to normal speed. On screen, Sangmin tilted the bottle. Alcohol poured over my head. I could see people's expressions around. Laughing people, surprised people, people trying to stop him. All clear. I captured that scene, from multiple angles, and saved the video file separately. This was decisive evidence, showing it wasn't a joke. The next morning, I called the education office. To apply to view school records. The staff member said if they're your own records, you can apply. Visit with identification. The education office was near Suwon City Hall. Taking the bus there, I was nervous. Would records from 38 years ago still exist? But I had to check. I filled out an application form at the Civil Affairs office. Name, graduation year, school name. The staff took the documents and went inside. About 10 minutes later, they returned. Here they are. The staff handed me a file. It's a copy. I opened the file. I saw my name on old paper. Life records section. I saw writing in the special notes column. September school violence incident victim. Perpetrator student Oh someone and 2 others. Guidance needed. I read that sentence several times. The record remained. Officially. This was evidence that it wasn't just a joke. Taking the copy, I left. The sunlight was dazzling, but I wasn't afraid anymore. I had cassettes, CCTV, and school records. On the way home, I passed by the district office. I knew the redevelopment committee office was here. I paused, hesitated about going in, but not today. More preparation was needed. The confrontation should be last. After all evidence was gathered. Arriving home, I organized all the materials. Cassette tapes, CCTV footage, school record copy, medical opinion, photos. I put them in files one by one. I felt the weight. In the evening, my brother Duyan called. Sis, the redevelopment compensation briefing is this Saturday. I'm thinking of going. I thought for a moment. Briefing. Oh, Sangmin would be there. In front of many people. That might be an opportunity. I'll go too, I said. Duyan asked in a surprised voice why? Are you interested in compensation? No, I answered slowly. I have something to say. After hanging up, I looked at the calendar. 3 days until Saturday. Enough time to prepare. I wrote in my notebook. Saturday. Briefing. Final card. That night, lying in bed, I looked at the ceiling. I trembled. Afraid too. But I wouldn't back down. I had the records the teacher left, the evidence I'd gathered. Before sleeping, I played the teacher's voice on the cassette player once more. Records will protect you. Those words echoed in my ears. Yes, teacher. Now I'll protect myself. Saturday morning, I packed my bag. Laptop, cassette player, document envelope. My hands trembled, but my resolve was firm. Today was the day. Gwanzan GU Gymnasium was crowded. Redevelopment compensation briefing. Residents sat in chairs looking at the stage. I sat in a back seat. I saw Duyan toward the front. Oh Sangmin stepped onto the stage. Wearing a suit, holding a microphone. Committee members sat on either side. The lighting was bright. Dear residents, hello. Sangmin's voice echoed through speakers. I promise transparent and fair compensation. Transparent. Hearing that word made me laugh. Was what he showed at the hotel transparency? It was a lie. I slowly unzipped my bag. Sangmin flipped through screens explaining. Compensation standards, relocation schedule, procedure guidance. People nodded listening. Some took notes, seeming to prepare questions. Q&A time. Sangmin said, if you have questions, please raise your hand. I raised my hand. Hi, slowly. Sangmin's gaze came this way. He paused for a moment. He recognized me. Yes, the person in the back. Sangmin said. His voice trembled slightly. I stood up. There was no microphone, but I raised my voice. Loudly and clearly. Chairman, you mentioned transparent procedures. Yes, that's right. Sangmin answered. Then can you transparently explain pouring whiskey on my head at the hotel? A few days ago? The gymnasium fell silent. Murmuring arose. People turned their heads to look at me. Duyan turned around with a surprised expression. That's. Sangmin stammered. I think there's a misunderstanding. It's not a misunderstanding. I took out my laptop from my bag. I have evidence. I asked a staff member nearby to connect to the projector. People murmured. I saw Sangmin's face hardening. Committee members whispered to each other. The video played on screen. The reunion banquet hall. Tables, people, and Oh Sangmin holding a whiskey bottle appeared. The gymnasium fell quiet. On the video, alcohol poured over my head. Clear. Sangmin's laughter, people's reactions, my wet hair. No one spoke. Is this transparency? I asked. My voice trembled but was firm. 38 years ago and now, it's the same. Sangmin tried to put down the microphone. But I didn't stop. I took the cassette player from my bag. A small, old device, but its weight was substantial. These are records left by our homeroom teacher. I placed the player on the table. From 38 years ago. I pressed play. After static, the teacher's voice flowed. September 15th. Regarding student Han Yoonjong incident. Ringleader Oh someone. The teacher's voice spread through the gymnasium speakers. People listened holding their breath. The school is trying to cover up the incident. But this is clear violence. Sangmin's face turned pale. The committee member sitting next to him whispered something. But Sangmin couldn't answer. He just stood there. Someone stood up from the front seats. A middle-aged man. Me too, he said. I was also hit. By Oh Sangmin. Another person stood. A woman. He pushed me in the hallway. I fell down the stairs. Testimonies continued. One by one, voices emerged. It wasn't just me. There were several people. Everyone had endured and lived. The committee member beside Sangmin whispered in his ear. Chairman, the crowd psychology is exploding. You need to handle this. Sangmin grabbed the microphone again. His hands visibly trembled. Back then, he said, my family was struggling because of my father's debts. It was an excuse, but I had one final card. I took a document envelope from my bag. School record copy. This is the education office record. I opened the envelope. September school violence incident victim. Perpetrator student O someone and 2 others. I lifted the paper. Camera flashes went off. Someone was taking photos. Probably reporters. I continued speaking. Is this a joke? Violence recorded in official records. 38 years have passed, but the record hasn't disappeared. The gymnasium stirred. People began standing. Some shouted at Sangmin. Apologize. Take responsibility. Step down. Sangmin staggered on stage. He let go of the microphone and stepped back. Committee members hurriedly supported him. The briefing was suspended. I sat down. My heart pounded. Trembling, but I had no regrets. I'd done it. Duyan ran over. Sis. He called. Are you okay? I'm okay. I answered. Now I'm okay. People passed by me. Some nodded, some held my hand. Saying thank you for having courage. I just bowed in greeting. Leaving the gymnasium, the sunlight was dazzling. A clear autumn sky without a single cloud. I looked up at the sky. Teacher, I did it. I said to myself. On the bus home, my phone rang. An unknown number. I answered, and a voice introduced himself as a lawyer. Oh, Sangmin's legal team. They wanted a settlement. Wanted to meet and talk. I thought for a moment. Then answered, let's do it officially. Legally. After hanging up, I looked out the window. Suwon streets passed by. Familiar scenery, but today it looked different. The world seemed to have changed a little. A few days later, the meeting place was a law firm consultation room. A clean, quiet place. I arrived early and sat in a chair. My hands were so tense the documents I held became damp. The door opened and Oh Sangmin entered. With 2 lawyers. Sangmin's face looked gaunt. He seemed to have lost a lot of weight in a few days. Still, I didn't feel sympathy. Please sit, the lawyer said. We've prepared a settlement proposal. Documents were placed on the table. Thick papers. I slowly turned the pages. Medical expenses, compensation, settlement conditions were written. Everything was there, but this wasn't what I wanted. I closed the documents. Then I looked at Oh Sangmin. He avoided eye contact. Apology comes first, I said. Not money. Sangmin lifted his head. Apology, he muttered, then opened his mouth. I'm sorry. Too brief. Perfunctory. I shook my head. Sincerely. Tell me why you did it, what was wrong? Sangmin sighed. A long silence followed. The lawyers waited quietly too. Then Sangmin began speaking. My family was struggling, he said. After my father's business failed, there were many debts. I worked part-time since middle school. I was ashamed and angry. I listened. Without speaking, I took that anger out on others. Sangmin continued. On weaker kids. Ms. Yoonjong too, other kids too. I knew it was wrong, but I couldn't stop. Why? I asked. Because. Sangmin paused, then spoke slowly. If I didn't do that, I felt like I would collapse. I mulled over those words. Afraid of collapsing, so he collapsed others. I understood. But forgiveness was different. I understand your circumstances, I said, but that's not a reason to pour alcohol on my head. Sangmin lowered his head. His shoulders trembled. He seemed to be crying. But my heart wasn't swayed. You're still paying your father's nursing home fees, right? I asked. Yes, Sangmin answered. He has advanced dementia. Nursing home costs aren't cheap. The redevelopment project is why you worked so hard too? Yes. Sangmin nodded. I wanted to pay off some debts with the compensation. I thought, this person lived a hard life too. But that wasn't absolution. Having a hard time doesn't justify hurting others. Forgiveness and absolution are different. I said, I understand your circumstances, but you must take responsibility. Sangmin looked at me. His eyes were bloodshot. What should I do? Apologize publicly. I spoke clearly. Before the law. And do something meaningful so this never happens again. The lawyer interjected. What specifically do you want? I said what I'd thought about beforehand. Create a scholarship for victims. In my homeroom teacher's name. Scholarship. The lawyer took notes. What amount? I stated an amount. Not large but meaningful. Enough to support one student each year. Sangmin nodded. I understand. I'll do that. One more thing, I added. The grave relocation consent, let me withdraw it. The lawyer looked at Sangmin. Sangmin sighed and nodded. I'll review the procedures. After the meeting ended, I went outside. In the hallway, I checked my phone. There was a text from Duyan. Sis, I'm sorry. I applied for deposit refund. You were right. I sent a reply, it's okay. Let's live well together. Taking the elevator down, I saw my face in the mirror. Tired, but peaceful. I had the confidence that I was doing what needed to be done. Going outside, it was raining. Autumn rain. I opened an umbrella and walked slowly. I liked the sound of rain. On the way to the snack shop, I passed through the market alley. A regular customer waved. I saw the news. You did well. I smiled and answered thank you. Opening the shop door, I went in. Familiar smells, familiar space. But today was somehow different. It felt like I'd put down a burden. Making fish cakes in the kitchen, I looked out the window. The alley with rain falling was visible. I said to myself, now I'm halfway done. In the evening, Duyan came to the shop. Shaking his wet hair, he came in and stood before me. Sis, he said, I'm really sorry. It's okay. I ladled out broth and handed it to him. Drink this. Duyan drank the broth and said I was blinded by money. Didn't think about your feelings. I patted Duyan's shoulder. I know, you were struggling too, but I was wrong. Duyan said, from now on, I'm on your side. Until the end. I smiled, said thank you. It was good to have a sibling. Though there was conflict, we were together in the end. Late at night, I closed the shop. Duyan helped wash dishes. Standing side by side working, I remembered old times. When we were young, helping with our parents' shop. On the way home, Duyan asked sis, what happens now? Get a public apology. I answered. Create the scholarship. Then end it. Will it really end? Duyan asked worriedly. I'll end it, I said with certainty. With my own hands. A week later, the police station called. Investigation was proceeding. Sangmin's side admitted the facts and indicated willingness to settle. I went to the police station and gave a statement. I testified again about the incident details. What happened at the reunion, past school violence, evidence materials. The officer recorded meticulously. It took a long time, but it was a necessary process. Now it moves to mediation procedures. The officer said, if both parties agree, it can conclude with a mediation plan. Instead of criminal punishment. I nodded. Punishment wasn't the goal. Apology and responsibility were important. A few days later, a meeting was held at the mediation committee. A place where neutral mediators were seated. Sangmin and I and lawyers sat facing each other. The mediation plan was read aloud. Public apology statement. Payment of medical expenses and compensation. Establishment of memorial scholarship for the late homeroom teacher. Support for grave relocation consent withdrawal. I checked each item. When is the public apology? I asked. Next Tuesday. The lawyer answered. It will proceed as a press conference. The scholarship amount? 5 million won annually. The lawyer showed documents. Confirmed payment for 10 years. I read the documents. Carefully, slowly. Checking if anything was missing. Everything was written. I picked up a pen. I agree. I signed. Sangmin signed next to me. The mediator confirmed and stamped. After the meeting ended, I went to the community center. To meet Officer Park Mira. I needed to check documents related to grave relocation. Mira reviewed the documents and nodded. There's a procedural flaw. The notice went out without a consent form. Withdrawal is possible. I filled out a withdrawal application. Decided to leave father's grave as is. There was no need to move it. Mira handed me the receipt. Now the redevelopment side has to renegotiate. Mira explained. Forced relocation isn't allowed. Thank you, I said sincerely. You've helped me a lot. Mira smiled. It's the natural thing. Stay strong. Leaving the community center, on the way home, I called Duyan. We don't have to relocate the grave, I said. Duyan breathed a sigh of relief. That's good. Father would have wanted to stay there. Let's visit the grave this weekend. I suggested. Okay. Duyan answered. We should tell father everything. After hanging up, I arrived at the snack shop. Regular customers were already waiting. 2 rolls of kimbap, 1 tteokbokki. Orders came in, and I stood in the kitchen. I liked working, moving hands, making food, seeing customers' smiling faces. Ordinary daily life felt precious. Tuesday morning, I went to the press conference. Suwon City Hall briefing room. Many reporters had come. Multiple cameras too. Oh Sangmin stood at the podium, holding the prepared apology statement. Flashes went off. Sangmin bowed his head and began reading. I sincerely apologize to Ms. Han Yoonjong and other victims. Sangmin's voice trembled. I deeply regret the violent acts 38 years ago and recently. From the audience, I listened quietly. Emotions were complex. Anger, sadness, relief all mixed together. I used my difficult circumstances as an excuse. But that cannot justify violence. Sangmin continued, I will do my utmost in material and spiritual compensation to the victims. Reporters poured out questions. What's the scholarship amount? Will you resign as committee chairman? Sangmin answered one by one. Said he would resign from the chairman position. After the conference, a reporter found me. Are you Ms. Han Yoonjong? Can I get a comment? I thought for a moment. Then answered, this isn't personal revenge. I wanted to show that records and truth are important. The reporter took notes. Your plans going forward? I'll live an ordinary life. I smiled and said, running my snack shop. Leaving the briefing room, I walked down the corridor. Sunlight was coming through the windows. Warm. I paused for a moment and felt the sunlight. That evening, many customers came to the shop. People who'd seen the news said they supported me, that I did well. I bowed my head and thanked them. After closing and cleaning up, someone knocked on the shop door. We're closed. I was about to say, then stopped. It was Yoon Seojong. Sorry for coming late. Seojong handed me an envelope. I found this sorting through more of father's belongings. I opened the envelope. Inside was an old graduation photo. Our class group photo. Turning it over, something was written. Small handwriting. The homeroom teacher's penmanship. I read those words. Tears came. The writing on the back of the graduation photo said, Yoonjong, records will protect you. The teacher's final words. I held the photo to my chest. The teacher knew that these records would protect me someday. It took 38 years, but the teacher was right. Seojong said before my father passed away, he said something. Records don't lie. I nodded. That's right. Thanks to the records, I made it this far. After Seojong left, I put the photo in a frame. Decided to hang it on the snack shop wall, so I could see it every day. The teacher and our faces were there. The next morning, I prepared the scholarship announcement. Late homeroom teacher memorial scholarship. Support for school violence victim students. One person selected annually. I printed it and posted it on the shop's glass door. A regular customer saw it and said, oh my, doing good work. That's satisfying. Other customers nodded too. That's right. Well done. People's reactions were warm. My heart felt proud. It wasn't just my personal matter, but had become meaningful work. After the lunch rush, I went with Duyan to father's grave. A hillside on the outskirts of Suwon. Autumn sunlight was warm. We bowed before the grave and poured alcohol. Father, Duyan said, thanks to sister, you can stay here. I said to father, it's all finished. Rest peacefully now. Wind blew. Tree leaves rustled. It felt like father was listening. We sat like that for a while. Coming down the mountain, Duyan said, sis, I'll help more with the shop. Thank you, I said. Then please handle the dishes. Duyan laughed. Okay, I'll come every day. A few days later, messages appeared in the reunion group chat. Belated apologies. Sorry about back then. Didn't know. Please forgive me. I read them one by one. Didn't reply. Reading them was enough. Forgiveness needed time. About a month passed. Customers started lining up at the shop. It became famous after the news. I got busy, but felt good. Duyan really came every day to help. Washing dishes, cleaning, serving customers too. One day Duyan said, sis, I'm thinking of properly learning the shop business. I asked in surprise, what about construction work? I'm going to quit. Duyan said, I want to work here with you. I'll take over later. I hugged Duyan. My little brother had grown up so much. One Saturday afternoon, a high school student came into the shop. A girl in uniform. She approached cautiously and asked, I saw the scholarship announcement here. I came to apply. I offered her a chair. Sit. Let's talk. The student told her story. Said she was bullied at school. Reported it but it wasn't handled properly. Wanted to study but her heart was struggling. I held the student's hand. It's okay. You didn't do anything wrong. The student cried. I teared up too. I saw my former self. But now it was different. I could help. The application form is here. I handed her the papers. Fill it out and submit. I'll contact you if you're selected. The student nodded and took it. Thank you. Thank you so much. After the student left, I looked out the window. People were coming and going in the Guanzan market alley. Daily life was flowing. After evening business, Duyan and I cleaned together. While washing dishes, Duyan said, Sis, will that student who came today be selected? Of course. I smiled and answered, we have to help her. Turning off the lights and leaving. I saw my reflection in the shop's glass door. A 66-year-old face, but my eyes were bright. Looking at my face, I thought, this wasn't destruction, but organization. I didn't tear down the past, but set it right. Swept away time built on lies and revealed the truth. On the alley home, stars were visible. A clear autumn night. I looked up at the sky and said to myself, teacher, did you see? Records protected me. A few days later, I boiled barley tea in the shop kettle. Steam rose. Warm brown tea. Warmth instead of whiskey. I poured tea into a cup and drank. Sweet and savory. I thought life tastes like this. There were bitter times, but warmth remains in the end. That afternoon, another customer came in. The sound of the door opening was cheerful. Looking up, it was that student from earlier. Excuse me, the student said. I submitted the application. Is there anything more to write? I smiled. No, your story is enough. The student looked relieved, then asked, did you also go through hard times? Yes, I answered honestly. It was long ago, but I organized it recently. How? The student was curious. I recorded, gathered evidence, spoke up. I explained briefly, and didn't give up. The student nodded. I'll do that too. I won't give up. That's right. I patted the student's shoulder. You can do it. After the student left, I stood in the kitchen again. Rolling kimbap, my hands moved lightly. My heart felt light too. I never knew those words would come back like this. The teacher's words that records will protect you. It took 38 years, but they ultimately protected me. I completed the kimbap and placed it on a plate. The neatly cut cross-section was visible. The filling ingredients were colorful. I thought life is like this. Different colors mixing to become one. Through the shop's glass door, the alley was visible. People coming and going, the sun setting, daily life flowing. I was in that daily life too. No longer hiding, but dignified. That evening after closing, I looked at the graduation photo in the frame. Young teacher and students' faces were there. I was there too. 16-year-old Yoonjong smiling shyly. Teacher. I spoke to the photo. I finished it all. Rest peacefully now. The teacher in the photo seemed to be smiling. I smiled too. Tears came a little, but they were happy tears. Turning off the lights and locking the door, someone called from behind. Ma'am. Turning around, it was a neighborhood lady. Can I order 50 rolls of kimbap for tomorrow? We have a senior center event. Of course. I took out my notebook and wrote. What time do you need them? 10 o'clock. The lady said, you work hard. It's okay. I smiled and answered, I do this because I like it. Walking home, I thought life is really amazing. What started with one bottle of whiskey changed so much. But what changed wasn't the world, but me. From someone who endured to someone who speaks. From someone who hides to someone who confronts. I arrived at the building entrance. Taking out my keys to open the door, Duyan was waiting inside. I made dinner. Let's eat together. Thank you, I said, taking off my shoes. We're blessed. That night, sitting at the dining table with Duyan, we ate. Kimchi stew was bubbling. Warm rice, warm soup, warm brother beside me. Let's eat well, we said together, and picked up our spoons. Through the window, Suwon's night streets were visible. Lights were twinkling. Our home's light was one of them. Small but warm light. Before sleeping that night, I wrote in my diary. It had been a while. I wrote the last sentence like this. Records protected me, and now I will protect others. That's what I learned. I closed the diary and turned off the lights. Even in darkness, my heart was bright. Tomorrow I'd open the shop again. Roll kimbap, welcome customers, live an ordinary life. But now I knew. How precious ordinariness is. Dignified ordinariness. That's how I fell asleep. Peacefully, deeply. Everyone, have you ever come face to face with an old wound, like I did? Through this experience, I realized how powerful courage and sincerity can be. I was afraid, but in the end, I protected myself, and in doing so, I found both comfort and gratitude. Life is never too late, we can always make things right again. I'd love to hear your thoughts and experiences in the comments. If my story touched your heart, please consider subscribing and liking the channel. And if you know someone who needs to hear this story, please share it with them. Thank you so much for listening. Take care of your health, and may tomorrow be a little warmer than today.